Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Bulletproof Selling. My name is Shawn Rhodes, and I'm the Chief Sales Sergeant of Bulletproof Selling and author of the book Bulletproof Selling, a guide for systemizing sales on the battlefield of business. Now, here at Bulletproof Selling, we believe that hope is not a sales strategy. So we've been here for a couple of years now, bringing on great guests to help you as a salesperson, you as a sales leader, you as an entrepreneur, remove hope from how you sell and how you serve. And over the last few years, we've been able to bring on best-selling authors, Hall of Fame speakers, folks that are out there around the world helping sales teams remove hope from how they operate. And out of every one of our episodes, we build a sales system with our guests that you'll be able to use no matter the size of your team or the size of your goals. Now, across all of our episodes, we've been able to interview people from all across the United States and all across the world. And today's guest is just such a person, somebody that's not coming here from the United States. But the funny thing about sales is that the challenges are pretty universal. All right. It's not just like folks in the United States are the only ones that suffer with specific challenges. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what it is that you sell, you're focused on service. And that means serving the right people at the right time. Now, so many salespeople, they fall into the trap of, unfortunately, shotgunning their efforts. And I did this as a salesperson in the early days of my sales career as well, which was reaching out to as many people as I possibly could to get a hold of whoever would pick up the phone to buy whatever it is that I was selling. Not the most efficient way to go about it. Never something that we would do in the military. When I was a sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps, we absolutely took more time to focus on who we were going after, how we were going to impact their lives, positively or negatively sometimes. And that way we could target our missions and make the most efficient use of our time and our resources. So I'm really honored today to be able to bring on somebody that is coming to us from Tel Aviv, a city that, if you're coming to us in 2024 right now, they're going through a bit of a struggle. And, all prayers that, from all the veterans that I know, all the folks in the United States, I know that these folks are successful in their mission. But we are bringing to you a former officer in the Israeli Air Force, okay, which is pretty cool. But somebody that has been on the front line of sales, actually, for quite some time as well. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome onto the show Dr. Yaniv Zaid. Yaniv, welcome, sir, to Bulletproof Selling. It's an honor to have you here from Tel Aviv. And as Yaniv is coming to us, we're going to talk a little bit about the topic we're going to focus on today. So when it comes to target audiences, Yaniv, welcome, sir, back to the show, Bulletproof Selling. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Shawn. I heard that many chapters from your podcast, and I enjoyed very much. So it's a privilege to be here.
Great, man. Well, talk to us a little bit about your time in the military. A lot of our guests are veterans, not just of the United States, but of the Royal Air Force in Britain. We've been able to have on some Royal Marines, able to have on some folks out of Israel as well. So talk to us a little bit about your service, how that's helped you in sales, and then talk to us about the teams that you get to serve today.
Yeah, okay, so I am 47 years old. So when I was 18, I enlisted like everyone in Israel. It's a mandatory in Israel. And I served 4 years. I was a lieutenant in the Israeli Air Force. I started to learn how to fly in the Israeli flight academy. I flew jets, and then after a year and a half, I wasn't good enough, so I became an air traffic controller, and I was a lieutenant by then. So I remained 2.5 more years in the service. And by the way, then we flew a lot with American troops. It was before the Iraq War, so you had many flights in Israel. Today you have bases in Kuwait and in Saudi Arabia, etc. But then most of your base was in Israel. So I had lots of cooperation with American military. I was the coordinator between the Israeli Air Force in my base and the American forces, and I learned lots from there. And when you go to the army, especially in Israel, when you have, almost all the time you have war with several countries, and you became a startup nation, with all the wars, we keep doing business all the time. So you develop a very, unique powers of doing things simultaneously, positive thinking, creative thinking. We are an island economy in Israel because we are surrounded by enemies. So if you'd like to succeed, you need to succeed outside of Israel because we are a relatively small market. And the army taught me a lot. It taught me how to manage my time. It taught me how to manage myself. It taught me, to think positive and to be all the time optimistic. And a lot of connections from the army because you meet great people and you serve with great people. So in Israel, most of the people, even I, 30 years later, I am in contact. Some of my best friends are friends that served with me 30 years ago. So we keep in touch. So it's very, it's also great networking, the army. It's not supposed to be the networking place, but you go out with friends, you go out with knowledge, you go out with tools. And till today, when I'm a business person for 20 years and salesperson, and I teach others, lots of the tools I teach came from the army, like yourself.
You've been able to help governments, companies. Talk to us a little bit about the type of salespeople that you've been able to serve.
Well, I teach sales also B2B and B2G and B2C. Also private people and small, medium businesses that are in direct contact with clients all the time. And also with government, they have, government officials and ministries, government ministries, and also with big companies, big organizations. It's a little different, the sales, but between B2G, B2C, and B2B, but people are people, and our subconscious level operates the same. So it's more common, and there are more common ground than the things that are different.
And you're the author of the 21st Century Sales Bible as well, a book that we're definitely going to make sure we link out to. So then I'm curious, in all the teams that you get to work with, the salespeople you get to consult with, where do you see them falling back on hope more than they should? So, your time in the U.S., in the Israeli Air Force, my time in the U.S. Marine Corps, hope is something they taught us to never fall back on. And yet I know you and I see salespeople do it all the time. In your world, in your experience, where do you see salespeople falling back on hope?
Well, they're falling back in targeting the right audience. People think that they just do many things in sales. They approach many people, with no preparation, with no optimization, with no direction, and things will happen. Someone will buy, something good will happen. The universe will provide us with something. It's good. It's good. It's optimistic. It's good. But if you would like to be efficient, then you need to focus on to define your target audience, to focus on this audience, to define it, many characteristics. For example, the age of your ideal client, the age, where they live, what are the problems, what are the needs, and then you build a sales program. You build a marketing program according to it. Because even if you're very enthusiastic and you start your business and you say, I will sell and I will do my best and I will invest all the energy I can get, at the end, if you're not focused, then the results won't come, or they will come, but they will be less than what you can achieve. So preparation and defining the target audience is something that you can create and not wait or relate on hope.
And there's a couple of things that I've seen salespeople struggle with in this area to get your insight on. You've got people that are either starting up a new business or a new market, and they don't have any leads. They don't have a market yet. They have to develop it themselves. And you also have those salespeople out there that are handed leads by a marketing firm, by their own internal marketing vertical inside their own business if it's large enough. And so we've got people struggling with target market in both areas. One, I don't know what it is, so I'm looking 360 trying to figure out who around me could buy what it is I have to offer. Who can I reach out to with no really definitive lane to stay in? Then you've got people that are handed leads that may not be the ideal target market for them, or a small percentage of those leads are really the folks they should be selling to. So how do I know as a salesperson that I might be suffering from this problem? Because I've got, all these people to reach out to, or I've been handed them, but how do I begin to know there's a problem with my target market?
First of all, you need to identify a target market according to the problems and needs. Because if you sell a product and service, then you actually sell a solution. You sell an answer. So you need to understand first what is the need what is the need for the answer. Okay, what is the problem for the solution? So I think one of the most important rules in marketing and sales is sell the problem before the solution. So if you talk to clients or you talk to people in your surrounding and leads you get, etc., then you ask them, what are your problems? What do you need? What is important for you? And then you understand what they need. And if they need your product and services, then you provide it to them. And the bigger the problem, the more I'm willing to pay for the problem. So if you take, for example, a regular bouquet of flowers, you can sell it in let's say $100. But if you call it a bridal bouquet, a bouquet for the wedding, now it costs, $300, $400, $500. Why? They are the same flowers, but you don't actually sell flowers for the wedding. What you sell is, the image of a successful people, the $1 million feeling, the bride, a queen for a day. And you sell the winning image of 10 years from now, the bride and groom will sit with their kids and they see the album, the photos album, they will see, oh, look how beautiful mommy was. And 30 years from now, grandmother will see with her kids, the photo album, look how beautiful grandmother was. So this is what you sell them when you sell the bridal bouquet. So if you sell the need, okay, and not the flowers and not the solution, then you can sell it better. So when you talk to people, just ask them. Now, usually we don't like to listen, as salesperson, because if you like to listen, maybe you go to become a shrink, a psychiatrist or something like that. But against our instinct, we need to learn, teach ourselves and learn how to listen to people, because you talk to many people, you ask them questions, you listen carefully, you identify their needs and problems, and then you can identify whether they are your ideal client or not. And if they are, just offer them the solution to their problems or the answer to their needs.
That's amazing. So let's actually build this out into a system, because you're addressing something that we haven't touched on a whole lot here at Bulletproof Selling, which is not so much, defining who it is I'm going to reach out to, but what is it that I'm supposed to say to them when I do? And if we start from just, the lead list we happen to have in front of us, we won't be able to target in that message. So just like in the military, when we were building systems, we didn't do that haphazardly, right? We defined the problem. Here's the system to use so that we can all stay safe and accomplish our mission. And in the military in Israel, as I'm sure in the US, we love our acronyms. So we came up with this acronym here at Bulletproof Selling to help us build systems, because every new one trims hope away from our strategy, so that we can be more effective, more efficient. So we use this acronym TRIM. Now the T in TRIM is the trigger. If you were coaching a sales team to better define their target market and what they were going to say to that market, when do I trigger this system? Is it when I'm defining my ideal client profile? Is it when I'm about to pick up the phone and reach out to a lead list? When do you recommend I trigger a system before we even get into the steps of what we're going to do? Where does the system start for us?
The system starts in two things. First of all, make a list of problems and needs. It's not usually one problem. It's if you talk to many people, they have many problems, many needs, and they all need your solution. So make a list of between, let's say, 10 problems, 10 to 20 problems or needs, okay, that can, everyone are suffering from those problems and needs. This is this list. And the second list is your ideal client, at least between 10 and 20 characteristics of this ideal client. Age, are they single or married? Do they have kids? Where do they live? Are they religious or not? Etc. So who is the avatar? Who is your ideal client, that if your diary will full of meetings or conversation, who will they be? And then you'll take all your surroundings, all the leads you get, all the people, we mentioned earlier that from the army, you have connections, but you have connections from the army, you have from college, you have neighbors, you have family, you have friends, you have people you went to workshop with, so you know them. So you have many, many people in your surrounding that can be your ideal client, or they can be, marketing tools and provide you with ideal clients, because maybe they are not the ones, but they can talk about you if they know who they can refer you to. Okay, so three things. First, make a list of problems and needs. Second, make a list of characteristics of your ideal client. And third, make a list of all the people out in your environment, okay, that are your ideal client or can bring you to the ideal client.
Perfect. So if those are my trigger steps, then we're moving to the R in TRIM, which is making this a repeatable process. Just like in the military, when they taught you how to navigate planes onto a runway, it wasn't figure it out again each day. It was, here's exactly what to do in this order, rinse and repeat tomorrow, because this is what your pilots are expecting. We don't go off the program. So to keep our salespeople on the program, what are the 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 steps that you would want them to follow once they had this ideal target list in front of them, or the people that they need to reach out to that may have those targets in their network? What are the 5 or 6 things I should be doing?
So they need, first of all, they need to call them, to reach out to them. I think initiative approach is very, very important in sales. You need to have, in Israel, we say you have the chutzpah, the Israeli approach that I will try my best all the time, and I will keep contacting you and call you if I think you're relevant for me. And so first of all, talk to people, go out from the office, go out from your house, talk to people, pick up the phone, send an email, set a meeting, a Zoom meeting, whatever. Second thing, when you talk to people, really listen to them, really talk about them, not about you, not immediately talk about your product or service, but ask about them. What are their needs? What do they want to hear? Ask open questions, questions that the answer is not yes or no. For example, if I ask you, yesterday, were you home at 7 o'clock? It's close the question, yes or no. But if I ask you, where did you go yesterday? Then it's open question. You can talk for an hour for it. So talk with your clients, ask them open questions. They will talk, and then I can identify from all the information. I can gather the information, and I can see what are they suffering from. And then I can talk to them after I identified from the list of 10 to 20 pains. I identified at least 3 or 4 pains or problems that they suffer from my list. Then I can tell them, well, I've got the perfect solution for you, or I have the ideal solution for you. Okay, so you said you are suffering from 1, 2, 3, or your problems are 4, 5, 6, or your needs are 7, 8, 9. So I have a solution that can deal with it. And then you start talking about your solution, your product, your idea, but not in general, but specific to the problems, okay? And then each conversation, if you do many conversations or many meetings, then it doesn't bore you, it's very boring talking to people all day, especially if it's by phone, So if you just have the exact pitch, sell pitch, and you do it over and over and over again, okay, then it's boring for you. And most of the clients, they don't care about most of the information you say. But if I know exactly what to say to you, then each conversation will sound differently, and I can tell you exactly what you want to hear. So the client maybe talk to a few salespeople from different companies, but I'm the only one who actually was interested in him, actually listened to him, actually identified the problem exactly, and actually told him only the relevant information. So you can get better results in a fewer minutes, So this is why I believe, in focus, in preparation, and in all the lists, and if you do it directly, then your conversion rate will be higher.
And what you're talking about applies not just B2B, but also B2C, and like you said, B2G, because we are selling to people. So if we identify what their challenges are and take an interest in those challenges, one, we'll know, can we serve you? And maybe not. Maybe from what you're telling me and your challenges are, my product or service is not the right fit. And I'd rather get that out of the way sooner too. So great trigger and great repeatable steps now. We move to the iron trim at this point, which is something that we value very highly in the military, which is improvement. Israel's had to learn over a couple of decades how to do things differently as the threats around you change. And same thing in the United States. We don't fight wars the same way we did in 1776. So what are the things that you would tell a sales team to do once they're using your system to improve their results? Is it taking the time to retarget their target audience, take into account changes that have happened in the market or in the economy, or maybe just improve what we're doing on the phone? What are some things that you would do to tell them to improve?
First of all, when I practice, sales teams, first of all, we listen to conversation, because if you listen to yourself, you can talk about the conversation theoretically, but if you listen to yourself talking, then you learn many things. It's like in a flight academy. After you finish, a flight, you always look at the computer, you analyze your flight, you see what you did wrong, what you did good. So the same with sales pitch. And if you are a team, then you need to learn from one another. So basically, usually in companies, so Monday morning, or Friday noon, or Thursday noon, everyone sits and listens to some conversation that other people did or they did, and then you analyze it, and then you try to improve all the time to improve yourself. Okay, and once in a few times you do a mastermind, a brainstorming, and you ask yourself, am I still targeting the right audience? Maybe the market is changing. Maybe if I had many objections about the same topic, then I need to change something in the product, or change something in the script, or change something in the service, or maybe some people are doing bad work, so I need maybe to fire them, or to change your position, or something like that. So you need all the time to question yourself and to improve yourself. I believe that every expert is also a pupil, also a student. And, all the time we learn. I learn from you now, you learn from me. So all the time we need to develop ourselves. And another thing I always teach my sales teams when I practice them is always to improve yourself and to hear new information. Don't think you know everything about sales, because also the sales world is changing rapidly, all the time. Things that worked, I also deal with marketing writing. I write landing pages, I write websites to companies. So there are things that you wrote 10, 20 years ago, you can't write now, because people, when we recorded in 2024, people have fake radar or bullshit radar, they identify when you tell them things that are not authentic enough. So there are things that maybe 10, 20 years ago, maybe the sales was desperation, hurt the client, tell them about the pains, show them how bad their life is, and then they will buy the solution from you. Now we're talking about inspiration. Sales that inspiration, not desperation. Talking about the future. Tell them how they can improve their life, not how their life, sucks right now, but how can they improve their life. So there are systems that are changing. You need to identify the change. You need to adapt yourself all the time, to improve yourself all the time, and to learn your client and to develop a long-term relationship with them.
That's amazing. So we've got, you were just, you gave us probably a dozen different things to do to improve there. As I want to capture that first. So that's awesome. Thanks for being so giving of your wisdom. And the final element in this acronym of TRIM is M, which is to measure results. How do I know through measuring, and it could be qualitative or quantitative, that I am targeting the right market? Am I just looking at closed sales? Am I looking at something on the leading indicator side, the connection rates I'm having, length of conversations? What do you recommend a team measures to make sure that they are talking to the right people?
First of all the answers are correct. You can do both. You can measure everything. I focus on the conversion rate because if conversion rate is high, you are on the right path. If you talk to 10 people and 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 bought the product, you are in the right direction. Now you need to improve it to 4 out of 10. But if you talk to 50 people and no one bought, so there is a problem with your landing page, or there is a problem with your script, or there is a problem with your target audience. And there always a tension, in companies, in big companies, between the marketing department and the sales department. That the marketing department tells the sales, well, you don't know how to sell. We gave you lots of leads, you didn't sell anything. And the sales department says, well, you gave us lousy leads. They are not relevant people, and we try to sell our best. So all the time you need to improve. First of all, you need to improve the connection or the relationship between marketing and sales. But you need to improve sales and improve marketing, and you need to measure everything. So my focus is always the conversion rate, because you can tell stories to yourself that you are good, that you are great. That there are salespeople that I talk to and I teach and I coach, and they say to me, well, the client is supposed to buy, is going to buy any minute now. And I say, okay, either they bought or they didn't buy. Okay, it's not if they tell you I will come back tomorrow, or maybe next year, maybe after the holidays. Well, they didn't buy now. They just gave you an excuse. You didn't sell them anything. They sold you an excuse why they don't buy. So eventually you need to follow, the bottom line, which is the conversion rate. And this is what you can focus on in order to know if you are good or bad, or if you're good, okay, you can improve yourself.
I love what you just said, that if you didn't sell something, it means they sold you. They sold you on the excuse of why they couldn't buy. That's something that you could plaster up on the wall of any sales team, and they would probably benefit from it. So Dr. Yaniv, this was awesome, man. Something that we don't focus on enough, which is making sure we're talking to the right people and making sure that we're not being sold on the excuse. How do we make sure we're doing that? By going back to the beginning and making sure that, hey, we're reaching out to folks who we can actually sell to and serve. So talk to us about how we can get deeper into your world. How do we get a copy of the book? How do we connect with you online? How do we make sure that we're staying up to date on all the great stuff you're putting out there?
Great. So I have a website in English. It's called drpersuasion.com. It's www.drpersuasion.com. So you can check my website in English. My email is yaniv@yanivzaid.com. It's YANIV@yanivzaid.com. You can ask me any question you may have, and I will answer everyone. And also you can find me on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everything. It's Yaniv Zaid everywhere, YANIVZAID. And you mentioned my book, The 21st Century Sales Bible. It's a new release. It was translated to 10 languages so far, including China, Russia, India, Vietnam, etc., and also in the United States and Canada, both in bookstores and on Amazon. So check The 21st Century Sales Bible by Dr. Yaniv Zaid. You can buy my book as audio, as ebook, and as print book. And I will be happy to answer any question you may have, because probably if you heard till now, then you may have any questions. And I would like to improve. My mission in life is to improve companies, improve small and medium businesses, to become the best salesperson they can, and increase their income, and to build their professional authority and brand. So I'll be happy to assist anyone who can hear us.
Awesome, man. A life dedicated to service, just like you had in the Israeli army, and now you're continuing that on your own as an entrepreneur and as a consultant and as a service provider. So that's awesome, man. Thanks so much for that. If you're catching us here on Bulletproof Selling on the live stream, make sure you're hitting subscribe to that YouTube channel. If you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts can be found, leave us a review and let other salespeople know they no longer have to fall back on hope. With the insights of folks like Dr. Yaniv Zaid and others that we've had on over the years, you can make sure that you are becoming bulletproof in how you sell and, of course, in how you serve. Yanni, thanks for so much, man, for coming on for, it's 8 p.m. in Tel Aviv right now. You're taking time out of your evening for us and to serve the sales community. Thanks so much for that. Let's get out there and make selling bulletproof. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much.